Would you give your last dollar to a stranger in need? It's easy to say, yes, when we are surrounded by abundance, but what if you had everything in the world and yet something as simple as giving away your fortune could change a life forever? This is the story of Marcus Cole, a billionaire known for his sharp mind and unyielding ambition. He built an empire from the ground up, rising from humble beginnings to become one of the wealthiest men on the planet. His life was filled with luxury, success, and praise, but there was an emptiness that money could never fill. One cold winter evening, as Marcus sat in his high-rise office overlooking the city, a chance encounter with a homeless woman would shake him to his core. The snowstorm outside painted the world in shades of white, as if nature itself was preparing for a moment of reckoning. Little did Marcus know, his life was about to take an unexpected turn, one that would force him to confront his own humanity and the true power of generosity. Marcus Cole's life, despite its outward brilliance, was shadowed by an unrelenting loneliness. His success had come at the cost of relationships, love, and personal connection. The towering skyscraper he called home felt more like a prison than a sanctuary. His days were filled with meetings, press conferences, and negotiations, while his nights were spent in solitude, surrounded by piles of paperwork and the hum of his computer. He couldn't remember the last time he had truly laughed or felt the warmth of another human being beside him. But that evening, something was different. It wasn't just the relentless storm outside or the snow blanketing the streets below, it was the moment of hesitation that seized Marcus when he looked out from his office window. Amid the chaos of the world, he saw a woman huddled under a thin, worn blanket on a street corner. She wasn't the only one in distress, but something about her posture struck him. She wasn't begging for money. She wasn't even asking for help. She simply sat there, cold, shivering, eyes staring into the abyss, as if waiting for something she knew she might never receive. For a moment, Marcus felt something stir within him, a forgotten flicker of empathy. He had spent years building walls around his emotions, blocking out anything that might bring him pain. He had convinced himself that wealth and success were the answers to all the world's problems, but now, looking at this woman, a deep unease filled him. What was his wealth really for? Wasn't it supposed to make the world better? How could he live in such excess while others had nothing? The conflict was real. His mind raced with reasons not to act. He had a reputation to maintain, an empire to protect. Giving away money, giving away anything, would be a sign of weakness, a crack in the perfect image he had so carefully constructed. Yet, as he sat there, staring at her, the dilemma was inescapable. Was he truly as untouchable as he had always believed? Or was there a deeper part of him, buried beneath years of success and pride, that longed to make a difference? After hours of wrestling with himself, Marcus made a decision. The storm outside had not relented, and neither had the nagging voice in his mind. The office seemed to close in around him as he grabbed his coat and stepped out into the cold. He had no plan, no grand gesture in mind, only a single, powerful urge to act. Walking down the city streets, his steps were slow but purposeful. The woman was still there, the same figure huddled beneath her thin blanket. His heart raced as he approached, the biting wind making his face burn. The woman looked up as he reached her, her tired eyes meeting his, and for a brief moment, their gazes locked. Without a word, Marcus knelt beside her, his voice trembling as he pulled out his wallet. He didn't think, he just handed her a check, an amount that was more than she would ever dream of seeing in a lifetime. It was a sum that could change everything for her, a sum that had no real meaning to him, but everything to someone in need. Tears welled up in the woman's eyes as she looked at the check, disbelief overtaking her. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The silence was filled with raw emotion, the weight of the moment hanging in the air. Marcus felt a deep relief wash over him, the heaviness in his chest lifting. He had never experienced anything like this before, a pure, unfiltered connection with another human being. As he turned to leave, he felt something stir inside him, something he hadn't felt in years, hope. Days after the encounter, Marcus couldn't shake the memory of the woman's grateful eyes. But just as he was beginning to believe it was a one-time act, the ripple effect began to unfold. His company, renowned for its philanthropy, was hosting a charity gala when he was approached by a woman, her face oddly familiar. As she introduced herself, it hit him, she was the woman he had helped on the street. Her name was Clara, and she had once been a successful businesswoman who lost everything to a series of unfortunate events. That check he had given her. It had been the lifeline she needed to get back on her feet. With it, she had managed to secure a small business loan and re-enter the workforce, rebuilding her life from scratch. Clara's transformation didn't just stop there. Inspired by the unexpected kindness, she now ran a foundation dedicated to helping others in need. The ripple of Marcus's generosity had spread far beyond that single moment, sparking a wave of giving and compassion throughout the community. And Marcus? He found himself fundamentally changed. What began as a single act of kindness not only revived Clara's life, but awakened something in him, a purpose greater than wealth, a sense of fulfillment that success alone had never provided. As the months passed, Marcus found himself transformed. He became more involved in the charity Clara had started, not just as a donor, but as a mentor, helping to guide others on their path to recovery and success. The sense of fulfillment that had eluded him for so long now filled his days, replacing the hollow ambition that once consumed him. He had discovered that true wealth wasn't measured in dollars, but in the lives he touched and the difference he made. Clara's life continued to flourish as well, her foundation growing beyond what she had ever imagined. She often spoke of the billionaire who changed her fate, but more than that, she shared the deeper lesson: generosity has the power to transform both the giver and the receiver in ways that can never be fully understood. For Marcus, the lesson was clear. His life's purpose was no longer about power or possessions. It was about connection, compassion, and using his resources to better the world. And in the quiet moments, he would smile to himself, remembering how a single act of kindness had set in motion a chain of events that changed everything. Even the smallest acts of kindness can ripple far beyond what we see.